The internet is broken. Business models and site design are entirely geared toward advertising and not the reader. On today's internet, advertisements are distracting, invasive, and overwhelming. In Den, the primary objective is quality content. Instead of ads, you may occasionally see a boosted post where a user has risked value to increase its visibility. Just like any other post, you can upvote or downvote to help evaluate the relevance to your community. The more engagement a boosted post gets, the less the booster pays. Depending on the evaluation process, a booster can get up to 85% of their money back, if the post is well targeted and engaging. In Den, quality content is the primary objective.
Hey, what's up, denizens? Back for another DENDAO meeting. We've got Joe Dragon,
How you guys doing today?
Hyperion Frequency here with us to get it going. How's it going, guys?
All right, how's it going?
It's going okay. Just was going
Audio
over
or no audio? Because I can't hear you guys.
Oh, really? No? Okay, I'm sorry. Is it delayed or you just can't hear us at all? I can hear Joe, and I can hear Hyperion Frequency.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I don't know. You just muted yourself. So maybe not. I don't know. I think it might be on your end, my friend. So we've got, I was just looking over the agenda. We've got a couple of things to hit on today. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, did that work out for you? Can you hear us? Can you hear the words that are coming out of my mouth?
I can't hear you guys.
No, I don't know. I can hear myself, and I can hear Joe, and I can hear you. So, and Joe, you can hear everything, right?
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I think it might be Hyperion Frequency. Come back to us when you get that sorted out, sir. Thanks for joining us anyway. So this week, some things to talk about. We've got new layers coming up. We'll talk about who won that. We've got a DENDAO resolution to talk about. We can talk about the layer reputation settings. I've been going through a couple of options, like with the music layer, and we've talked about it on Coffee a little bit. Basically, how that stuff works and the fact that nobody really uses some of the tools that we have available to us. I've got an experiment running. We'll see how that works out in the music layer. I have high hopes. And then, of course, this is an open meeting or call for DENDAO governance. So since all denizens have a vote in DENDAO, regardless of if you have lot or not, this is open to all denizens. So feel free to click on that link that says join, or you can just leave us a comment at the end of this, and we'll refresh before the end of the call to see if we missed anything there. So with that, I've got a dinging in my ears I got to get rid of, and I don't know where it's coming from. So you want to talk about new layers for a second, Joe?
Sure. Sure. I don't have it in front of me.
No? Okay. Well, I can tell you that it's UFO, right?
Yes.
Whether it's UFO or UFO, I kind of like the European UFO. I think it's European. I don't know where it came from, but it's pronounced like a word in some parts of the world. I didn't know if you knew that. Yeah. Cool. And then also fishing, which goes hand in hand, right? Who do you think gets abducted but the fishermen that are out by themselves? And
coordinated
animated GIFs, right? Even though the inventor of the GIF says it's pronounced GIF, he's wrong. It's a GIF. Yeah, it's a GIF. So now that we've got those points out of the way, that'll be cool. Those will be created next week, ish, like Monday probably, right? This weekend, through the weekend, if you want any of the runners up to be created, I found the ding and I got rid of it. Yes, okay. If you want any of the runners up to be created, right? And those would be, let's bring that up.
Oh yeah.
Let's click on the LCP. Let's bring up a new tab and click on LCP there. And so 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. So the first loser, if you pay 200 matter, that's a negative term. I shouldn't use that, but it's fun. There we go. So upcoming crypto projects, that would be a 200 matter fee to get it to be created. Reminder, this is a monthly contest. There's 1 week of voting every month. And then as of right now, there's 3 layers that get created for free every month. And these are the ones that are LCP community created. So there's a permanent maximum supply of the ownership tokens. However many votes it gets, that's where you decide how many lot get created for that layer, right? So if you want any of the 5 runners-up to be created, you can pay $200 for upcoming crypto projects. You can pay $400 for books. Alpha, Den's Got Talent, Astronomy, Astrophotography are also eligible. And it increments a little bit more expensive every time. But that doesn't have to all come from one account. Y'all can pull it together and pay parts of it. And as long as it gets paid, it can get made. So you've got through Sunday night to get that taken care of. And then Monday we'll make these layers and launch them live.
And if you want any of the ones below that have over 8 or more unique voters on them, you can create any of those for $2,500.
That is true. That is true. Especially true whenever you think about, like, I try to get a little bit of every layer. Not too much, like sometimes like I'll end up with like 20% and I'm like, oh, I got to give some of that away. It's too much. Yeah. But I try to get a little bit of each one because especially if you scroll down until you hit the 8 unique voters, any of those could be created over the next few days. Yeah. Right. So if you didn't have any votes in there, you have no way of getting any unless you go out to somebody who owns some and get them from them, or if you get tipped them for participating, if they run their layer that way, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So those are the options. That's $2,500 matter fee for any of those. And that's all sorted by unique voters.
Yeah.
Hot Takes, that's a number 11 already. Hot Takes just got created pretty recently. So that got some immediate attention. Nice. Looks like cool.
Only 8 unique voters, so I don't think
I guess that's 11 by total lore would be number 11 by total lore. That makes more sense. Okay. Yeah, because it's obviously like number 90 by unique voters.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess that's all there is to be said about that, because we talked about it last week when it was voting was taking place.
Right.
Yeah, cool. Next topic. What else we got? We have the DENDAO vote resolution that we should talk about. Yes. So this one, we haven't had one like this one before. We have had a lot of conversations about this specific activity, I guess, this pattern. But what's become apparent is that we need to improve our tool set. Because this is exactly the kind of thing that we're designed to mitigate. And if we aren't mitigating it well enough, then we need to improve our tools for that. So I think that this passed. This passed, right? Let me scroll down here and see. Yeah, it looks like it passed.
It is resolved, yeah.
So I ended up, it took me a minute to figure out how I felt about this one, but I ended up voting for it. Because I was back and forth. I didn't, at first I didn't want to do it, and I wanted to emphasize trying to use these reputation settings instead. But then instead of that, there was a lot of like, I don't know if it was a fight. I have trouble. I'm not a native speaker. I have trouble sometimes following the conversation. But we need to improve our layer management tools, and then we can re-enable it, I think is the short version of that. Do you have anything specific that you want to put out about this GI?
I recused myself. 1 second. Hey, 1 second. It says deny. Oh, it says you voted on deny. No, it says deny. Oh, deny 1. Is that right? Deny 1? Is that right?
Oh, deny 1.
Okay.
Does it? So I thought it was approved. I wasn't reading the screen. Sorry, I was unprepared.
Yeah, let me look, because I hadn't even seen that either. So that's good. Okay.
That's interesting. So I know that I voted. I was going to say I voted for it, but now that I'm looking at it, no, I voted to deny it. Because I remember clicking on, I remember trying to vote to deny. And then I also at one point had voted for it, and I was going back and forth. So I guess it resolved.
And I recused myself. I didn't vote.
Okay.
So I just put it out as proposal.
Well, let me back out of what I just said, because apparently it was denied. It didn't pass.
Yeah.
I was under the wrong impression. So, and that's fine too. It's just that we need to still address the fact that the tools need to be used. And this is something that I'm experimenting with a little bit with the music layer. I know that I want to say DIY layer and also the creature comforts layer have had similar proposals recently. So if you have any lot in those, go vote on them. And maybe the Comunidad Español layer can look at what I put out in the music layer that is a similar vibe. Like, hey, we're seeing some, obviously people that are voting on this stuff aren't posting in here because there's more people voting negative as if it's some sort of attack. And here's what I think. There's a few options. It's hard to get into people's minds, but assuming it's an attack, which gaming the system to cheat the consensus method would be an attack. I think what's probably going on is people are voting down on other people's content so that it skews the consensus daily for the payout period, so that it weights their material higher. It's my theory. I don't know if this is exactly what's going on, but it seems like there's an attack vector where you can spam downvotes on everybody else's stuff, so that even if you don't have amazing content, it weights higher in the consensus, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a daily payout kind of thing, which is a drain on the entire system if you do that. So I got a couple of thoughts on how that can be mitigated. Step one is using what we've got, though. And so what I've done in the music layer is I've set, first of all, I had, just like the Spanish layer, we had reputation turned off. We weren't using any of those management tools. And so I turned it on. The proposal is for me to turn it on. And then I've set all of the permissions pretty low. You've got to have 3 stars in the layer itself or 2 stars den wide, right? Meaning if you're new in the music layer, if you're a new denizen to that layer and you don't have a reputation within that community, but you have at least a 2-star reputation den wide, then you can post, you can reply, you can do stuff, but you cannot vote. The one thing that I was heavy-handed on was to be able to vote, you've got to have either a 5-star reputation on den, perfect rep. Let's say you have no reputation in the music layer itself. So you have a perfect rep in den wide, you can vote. Or if you come in and you join the community and you post or you reply to other people's posts, and people are able to evaluate you as a person, okay, basically you're telling us this is the kind of content that I consider quality content. And if the community agrees with that, they'll vote it up and you will gain reputation. Mm-hmm. And once you've been evaluated 7 times, the default is 13, I turned it down to 7. Once you're evaluated 7 times, then the music layer will switch from using your den site-wide 5-star rep required to a 4-star. So you actually only have to have a 4-star rep in the layer itself to be able to vote. And that is a way to basically, it's going to filter out people that don't deserve it and allow them to like come back in and say, no, okay, here's what I'm about, get voted on, that kind of thing. But mostly it'll filter out people that have not been participating in den or in the music layer itself. Right? Because if you don't have any reputation in the music layer, it'll make you use the den reputation site-wide. And in that case, assuming that if you get a 5-star rep site-wide, that's pretty decent, and that's gonna be an okay. It's friction, right? It's not perfect. Now, of course, there's ways to get around that, I guess, but you got to try harder, I guess. You know what I mean? It makes people try harder to be to go against terms of service, really. So anyway,
there's my missing on that. It's not an evaluation score. It's a score on content. So some evaluators might not be producing content. That's the weakness of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other weakness is that there's no threshold on how many times you have to be evaluated site-wide to use your site-wide rep. My preference would probably be an additional setting, even though it brings more complexity and it's more difficult to understand, to have a setting saying, okay, if you have 3 evaluations and a 5-star rating on Den? Is that enough, or should we
I
make
think
you have 13 of them?
it should probably, you could use the same number. It's already there. Because it's already, if you're saying 7 internally, then we're going to also use 7 for the site-wide, you know?
Yeah. Okay. So you could just change that to say reputation threshold.
Yeah.
Meaning if you don't have more than this number of evaluations, your reputation doesn't count.
Yeah. The issue with that is you have to be very cognizant, because you could effectively, even with a 1-star, knock out any new user from, now I guess it'd just be your layer, like new users.
This is just the music
elsewhere. Yeah. So it would still work, you know, that would work. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about the broader proposal, maybe even just write it up live. I don't know if it's appropriate. Maybe we don't write it up live, but to say what I want to do is, you know, we're already tracking all of this on chain. You know, everything's there. So we would essentially score a user's eval. Now, this would be backend. It's not like something would show that, oh, you have an 80% evaluation score, theoretically. But that the thing we want to do in Den is drive the user to pinpoint what is the best content and what is the worst content, right? So, and in some cases, you know, you might have some layers that have a tighter band of that they maybe have a lot less bad content just because it's a small community or something. But I think that generally we want to have, you know, if you think about it as a bell curve and having bands in the bell curve, that if you're in the center region where you vote almost as much down as you do up, that you will have the best score possible for your eval, right? And the reason we want to do that is to say, you know, you have some people that vote everything down, and everybody understands it's not valuable generally. You could make a case, maybe they actually seek out only the bad, who knows? But you could say the same thing about the people voting everything up, that everything getting voted up does not help Den differentiate content. Because it's not, you know, the consensus isn't by the amount of energy, it's by the, you know, the actual unique votes. So the fact that we, you know, want people to identify those. Now, that said, you know, the first application of this, and there might be some, you know, but I think the bands seem to be pretty reasonable, because then it's not like you have to get 50-50 exactly to have the top. But I don't know.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot, because what I was thinking of, and I was thinking about this when I was trying to figure out how to apply the existing rep system to the problem that came up in the music layer. And what we need to do exactly is to identify or to score or to rate people's evaluation skills specifically. Right. To give some sort of reputation on their, like maybe you're an outstanding creator, but you suck at being objective on evaluating stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just not your specialty. So the people that have outstanding evaluator scores should be wanted and seeked out by layer owners in those communities, so that people can be, you know what I mean? And so how do you identify those denizens? How do you identify them? And I guess it would be an evaluator reputation, or a score, an evaluator score based on an addition to the algorithm.
Yep. And we had one of the devs. Okay.
Yeah.
Reputation or a score, evaluator score based in addition to the algorithm.
I'm getting some feedback there.
And we had one of the devs. Okay.
Yeah. Reputation, how long does it last? Is this something that is professional?
There's a half-life. I can't remember the time window. Sorry, I'm getting tons of feedback. But it literally, the longer, like say if you had a horrible reputation and then you learn how to work the system, that the reputation has a half-life and slowly disappears, right? That effectively, you know, the most recent time, your behavior in the most recent of time is what weighs in the most on your rep, right? So, and we can have to look. It's it's documented, but we'd have to look at what.
So you're saying that your more recent activity has more of a weight on your reputation than your oldest activity.
Yeah,
it's recorded.
Yeah, it goes like bad behavior will go away so that we can let someone recover, and we can also let someone, like my newest behavior is bad, so I can't just live off this great reputation I used to have, right? So that's there already. And so the first application in my mind for this rep setting, and by the way, one of the devs brought up to make it more, and he was basically offering up this idea as a way to make it more comfortable to the people who don't have the badge. That's not either. They're just reading, right? And that is to give a badge. Like, so let's say you're top ranked in that band, you get a badge, right? And maybe it lasts for as long as your rep is like that. Or maybe it's a period, a time-based badge. But either way, it would be cool, because then it's like, how'd you get that badge? And it isn't like Twitter where, they applied to it and they knew somebody, because that's how you get them on Twitter. You can't get the check mark unless you have some political power, or somebody on the board, or who knows what.
Which is unfortunate, right? Because that's a tool that should be used to identify people that are less likely to be a scam artist or something.
Yeah, imagine if we're able to say, they performed. That it's like, it's all transparent. You get the badge for doing, right? It's not about who you know at all, right? So anyway, that's the first part. And I think it actually influences people then to figure out, how do I get the badge? I just have to do this. I was like, I'll do that. And the second thing is, I think the first application, the first use of this would be in the rep system, where we would, allow them, the layer owners. And here's the thing, it's not like we would want them to be able to filter out all the downvoters, because frankly, that's what we saw with the Comunidad. That was kind of a red flag. Something's not right if you're trying to ban everybody that you don't know because you think they're downvoting. That's
the part where I couldn't figure out if it was like, is this someone who does not understand how the buttons and knobs work, and that there's a better, more clean way to do this? Or is this somebody who's literally being a fascist right now? I'm like, I don't know what the intent there was.
I think they were trying to figure it out, but I wish they would have come and, talked to us about it.
I will say that it's almost always the best idea to open a discussion post.
Yeah. Oh, you froze up.
Because a lot of people have ownership tokens. Yeah. So it's a really good idea to say, hey, I'm going to propose this, and here's how I intend to do it. Does anybody have any ideas that maybe we can, like, something you're not thinking about, right? Which is, that's what I did in the music layer, but that's kind of
anyway, in this rep system, instead of it being, the beauty is someone who only upvotes is going to have as bad of a score as someone who only downvotes. So when they're filtering based upon that reputation, they'll be filtering out the fringes. So what it means is you ended up with a tighter band of variation of those. So, if you say it requires 5-star eval rep, that means anybody who isn't voting everything up like this perfectly is going to be out, right? At least within that band. So it's kind of interesting, because you can't just filter out the bad votes. You filter out the upvotes when you're doing that. So that's our upvoters when you're doing that. That is well balanced, and I think I'm sold on that, right? The second thing,
okay,
I went. There was maybe
I was gonna say, is that one question I have is, that's an addition. This is an additional metric. This isn't a replacement for something, or is it?
No, this would be a new one. One that I originally I thought it would have ended up. This would have been about a year ago. I thought about introducing a concept of. I was trying to. I can't remember the wording I was thinking of, but it was essentially how consistent, how tight is your community. You're gonna have communities that disagree about everything, but they want to talk about the subject, but like politics. But you're going to also have some groups that are, we all pretty much agree, you know, maybe it's the Islam or Christianity layers. You know, they all agree about what's good content and what's bad, right? You know, maybe there, and I can't remember what word it was, but anyway, I was thinking it was going to go that way, but this is a much better real world application for some of the same concept where, you know, we're paying attention to how people are, individual denizens are voting and ranking them, which, you know, the behavior that Den wants is both, we want you to identify all the good stuff and we want you to identify all the bad stuff, right? And, you know, there's some level of forgiveness in there that you are going to have people that evaluate everything as good. And there's not anything wrong with it because, frankly, maybe they just don't vote on the bad stuff. That's a very typical thing. But we want to.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Behavior.
It's like I was just thinking, what about people that just want to be a troll hunter or want to be like, you know, somebody who's seeking out, let's get rid, you know, smash all the bads, you know. But that's also, I mean, everything is going to be.
And you think of the effect then. If they get filtered out of some communities, those communities will lose the effect of having the troll hunter. Number one, you know, it's a trade-off, but they will keep the troll hunters and the people who only vote everything up on friends kind of out of the mix, and maybe they have a better.
Because you're really, as a layer owner, you're really kind of trying to look
this half-life for reputation. Yeah. Reputation isn't like a bad thing if you upvote or downvote. It's just about the quality of the content that's being put on whatever layer, right? So maybe having a shorter half-life of about a month, and every Monday it updates whatever your reputation is.
I think it works somewhat like that right
posts.
Now. Yeah,
because you can put out great content and people can upvote it, and your reputation and content could be good, but then your evaluation, if everybody's evaluating a particular post as negative, as bad, then your reputation shouldn't go down. It should go up because everybody's in agreement that that is a bad post.
Your voter reputation as an evaluator, you're saying the person doing the evaluating or the person being evaluated upon?
Right.
Okay. Well, and I think it is. I think there might be something there, and I also had thought.
Well, it would be both, because if we're having a half-life, so.
Well, but we're talking about two different reps. It's like your eval rep is separate from your content rep.
It would be separate, So it would not affect you as a creator. It wouldn't affect that at all.
Your content rep could be 100%, and your eval rep could be 1, right? And it wouldn't matter. It just depends on how you use the system. And there is the potential that we might want to run. Let's say you get that top score, so you're scoring in the top 90 percentile of evaluators, right? Or based upon
like the balance score, whatever it is,
right? Maybe it is adjusted by or through the consistency with which consensus has agreed with you. So the more often you are right and the more even you are, maybe is the purest form, because then it's not just, I have to be even if I totally suck on what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the angle, because then when I'm only voting up content in this little layer that pretty much only has good content, I don't have to find bad content there. You don't have to, if you don't do that, you don't really have to think, and you can just say, I'm going to downvote this, and then I'm going to go randomly upvote something. Yeah, I think generally that's totally it. I think the formula is generally your prediction accuracy times the balance. That's what it is. So if you get a pure balance, then you get a 1.0. So if you predict everything and you get a pure balance, then you have 100%. Right? Very, very hard. Right? That's the formula. Okay. So documented here. And the second bit that I'm not certain of yet, but I wanted to see what you guys think, is to tie the evaluator, the value of your reputation as an evaluator to your lot. Why? because it's going to give you as a lot owner a reason to go in and freaking curate your damn community, not just sit back and do nothing. You need to curate that. If you have a horrible rep, your lot earnings will actually go down.
I like the incentive. I'm wondering if that is something that needs to be on a per layer basis, because, for example, me as somebody who I'm objectively okay at evaluating stuff in the music layer, I may not be any good at all figuring out what's good or not in the red pill or the conspiracy theory layer or the memes layer. Maybe I suck at judging memes, right? But I'm excellent at judging music. Should I have a different score per lot?
Totally.
Category?
I think it would be probably not the site-wide score. It would probably be, so let's say you never evaluate anything in the music layer, even though you hold music a lot. It's like, guess what? The lot is just kind of sitting there. You can still vote on stuff. You can still.
Yeah, the governance, the DAO stuff still is the same in that regard. So you're talking about emissions.
Matter. Yeah, you won't earn matter from that lot unless you're in there evaluating and doing, right?
You know what else I like about that is it doesn't take away someone's voting rights, which is important. Right. But we do legitimately have an issue with stagnant owners. Yeah. Which that could be an incentive to get in there and make your lot's emissions full value. Yeah. So the other question is then if
you can also tie it to energy. Sorry. Anyway.
Okay. Well, no, we could tie to whatever makes sense, really. But then, so let's say there's one owner that's checked out among, let's say it's like the music layer, and it's got a really shitty lot distribution, and there's like 5 people, and so of the 5, one of the owners is completely checked out, so they don't even get their emissions, or maybe they get 10% of their typical emissions, or whatever it is. Yeah. So the stuff that they're not getting, where does it go? Does it go to the other lot holders?
Pro rata, yeah. That's why I say if you would take the
that's even more incentive to be one of the people who not only are you making sure that you get the full value, but you're also sponging up the slop that everybody else is just leaving on the ground.
It's a great incentive for when you get down to the last 2 people who are remaining active as a community, to try to make this layer move. That gives them even more incentive to do it.
Does that I'm just going to throw a bunch of hypotheticals. Does that disincentivize
I want to make a comment on that too.
Expanding the ownership?
Hypotheticals. Does that disincentivize?
I'm getting a lot of feedback from you, man. I'm sorry. I'm hearing myself.
Just about disincentivize.
Would you mind? I'm sorry. Because I'm hearing all the voices all at the same time. Would you mind throwing that into private chat, and then we can better see what you're saying. Come back to us. Sorry, I didn't mean to run you off. But yeah, the feedback, I just couldn't deal with it. I want to hear. So Hyperion Frequency has really good points, and you're muted, Joe. Sorry, and so I do want to hear what he had to say, because this is something that has a lot of angles to it.
Yeah.
But does it disincentivize, I guess it doesn't matter as much, but does it going to keep people from tipping lot? Is it going to keep people from spreading the ownership around? Do we care about that as much?
I wouldn't think so. I think it's kind of the same thing. In fact, let's say you have 1,000 lot in whatever layer. And, let's say I hold 200, I have a lot of it, right? So it would effectively mean I could give less lot as a tip, and it would be worth more, because all these passive owners, I see this person is coming in, is like, hey, I'm going to give you some lot, they could end up generating quite a bit because nobody else is doing anything.
It would be fun, maybe useless and more work than it's worth, but it would be fun if the lot, if it followed the lot somehow, like if it comes from somebody with an awesome score, like you're getting a charged lot versus getting tipped from somebody who has an uncharged lot or something like that. You know what I mean?
That could be pretty cool.
That's complex and would require a lot of rewrite, but I just thought it'd be fun if you attached it to the actual, like, oh, this came from so-and-so. And while they had it, it was imbued with awesome evaluation properties. But now that you have it, it might wane. It might go away. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Hey, welcome back, Hyperion Frequency. Sorry, we just couldn't do the feedback thing. You want to try it again? Give you a couple of seconds. You're frozen now.
Oh.
Sorry, you're having tech difficulties.
It's okay. So yeah, I don't know. Those are my points. That's how I would solve this issue in a way that would not only solve it, but I think also improve Den from a big picture view. This is something I think we've needed for a while. We kind of ignored the eval rep concept.
Are there any other reps that we don't have that we might end up needing? Because we don't, the eval one that came up now because of the issues that are happening. It seems like pretty timely to talk about that.
We could do something. There might be something that might be a more general activity rep. You're just doing things, right? To catch the bigger picture. I don't know if that makes sense though.
Yeah, like video games and stuff to keep people engaged. They'll have like a daily reward or something where it's log in once a day and that's not really a huge thing either. I do think that the bell curve on the eval thing is a good idea, and then setting the rep requirement, it could look the same on the UI where you have stars, but under the hood it would just bring it in from the fringes into the middle. Right.
So,
and then if you were in a layer that was not getting enough evaluation to begin with,
you open it up.
Then you would have to open it up. Mm-hmm. And then this might be the last question I have. What would the effect of your reputation be? Would it be that the layer owners are saying, here's your bell curve, here's who's allowed to evaluate? Or is it actually being used somehow in the weight of your evaluations? Like,
I don't think that, because that would introduce that's possible for sure. That might be. Really, it might be a great angle. It really might be a good angle because then the more. Here's the reason that again, I hate to even think about it because it might be more complex, but it actually is very smart because you think about it. If the more balanced you are, the more powerful it is. You're saying this is junk.
That's kind of what I'm saying. Is like if somebody's spamming upvotes all the time, then another upvote is kind of like, those are a dime a dozen from that denizen. They give them out all the time. It's not that special. Right. But if someone's taking care to be like, okay, I'm being cognizant about what I'm doing, then that person's evaluation could objectively, it is arguably more valuable to the layer.
Yeah, and I guess that's true. What if you had a small layer and hey, we all agree this is great, this is great, this is great. So Den can't really tell too much. And it's like, well, I'm going to use the energy market size to sort them and time, right? But if someone comes in who isn't always there, but they're saying, no, junk. This is bad, right? That is really important because then we can say, oh, well, it's kind of like the anti-echo room, right? What would be the opposite of an echo room?
A reverberation. No, that is the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like that. What's that shape? There's the room, the unilluminatable room shape. You know what I'm talking about? Where you can't illuminate the whole room with one light bulb, no matter where the light bulb is.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's probably a word for it.
Yeah.
So
and they do the same things with sound. Yeah.
Hyperion Frequency. Since we're having technical issues, I'm just going to read for my man Hyperfreak. So my main point was that tying rep to lot would help prevent people from trolling in layers they just want to have ownership of, but don't really belong to that community. It should be able to stop the negative comments and voting, as it wouldn't really pay them out much after going against the curve so many times. It would be clear that they don't have good intentions or the same intentions as the majority of the layer.
Absolutely. That's a really, really good way to look at it. Totally different context. But that's beautiful. And you know what else? Having that, I mean, effectively what you would have is the layers competing, for energy, essentially. The more energy and better consensus you can get, the more your layer earns, right? The more the lot earns. And if you tied that to this, it's true, because then the trolls are coming in and they aren't going to get the same effect. Oh, I hold lot, so I'm just going to vote a whole bunch on stuff and just cause drama. This would, curtail that a little bit, because it would effectively lessen the amount, because they're not actively helping differentiate good and bad content. That's really good.
The last part of it was, and I think this is kind of like looking further, like extrapolate down the road or whatever. I would just say that we have to be careful about major owners handily controlling a layer, but ultimately everyone can leave and start a new layer. But how do we protect from those same people trying to take over again? So like if somebody's like super like what's the word? Not consistent, but persistent, that's something that we can figure out. I think that this is a pretty good step. This is a big chunk of like bringing sanity to the evaluation issues.
Yep. And by the way, one angle on, or probably a whole bunch of angles. I mean, for one thing, the people could get together and create a business layer and just exclude whoever, and then set rules and ban the person if they wanted, whatever. But we've thought for a while about some concept of the potential to fork community. If you have a disagreement, you could say, okay, we're going to propose a fork of the whatever X layer. But the only way you could join it is by burning your lot in the current layer, and then you move over. So some people. So
you would basically commit your lot to the that's a vote basically. Yeah. So this is going to be Comunidad Español, and this is going to be Comunidad Español Cash, and this is going to be Comunidad Español
yes.
Satoshi's Vision or whatever. That's cool. I've always liked forking too. The cool thing with forks is, to me, like with blockchain cryptocurrency forks, I always thought the cool thing was that you got extra tokens. It's like, oh, I had Bitcoin this whole time. Now I have Bitcoin this, Bitcoin that, Bitcoin the other thing.
Yes.
But maybe not doing that's better when it comes to DAO structure and community membership. And the whole reason it's forking in the first place is because there's disagreement on what the community should even be in the first place. Yeah. And if there are people with good intentions that want to go off and do their own thing, but then of course the question is, you're never going to completely keep out bad actors from anything. This is what I was talking about earlier with the trade-off between security and convenience. Is it's always, you can get more security and far less convenience, and you don't like it anymore. Or you can get way more convenience and dog shit security, and you don't like it anymore. Yeah. So that's sort of a similar balancing act.
Yep. Nice. All right.
Daughter layers or whelps. Nice.
Yes. Yeah.
The bell curve thing, I like it. I would tentatively, non-committingly say that I would vote for that if it were proposed.
Now, what do you guys think about is priority? Is it higher priority than layer stuff? Because we've gotten slowed down a little bit with some of the layer. I've been unavailable, and we've had a couple of delays. So for layer metrics.
Yeah. I know layer metrics will help a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
It would have to be a DENDAO vote again.
Oh yeah.
Put this on ice, finish this, come back to this, then vote again would be basically that proposal. Yeah. But
and in chat, Hyperion, for you, a lot of people are upset with downvote stuff, right? So
this could be the more pressing issue. Because I was just trying to think, is there anything? My only thought is there anything in the metrics page and the leaderboard that is pressing and not like I don't want to say just something we want, because obviously that's important, because it was voted in as the most wanted thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as these problems come up, we kind of have to focus on them so that the engine keeps running, instead of getting bogged down on, no, we have to do this because we voted for it. I would say it might be, because how much of a time sink do you think it is on that very fuzzy scale of low effort, high effort, that kind of thing?
The back end, I don't think would be that bad. The low to medium. There's a little bit of front end, which is mostly going to copy what's there.
Okay. So do you think that is there something we're not thinking of where this wouldn't work as well as we think? I don't think so, because we've even seen, with some limited evaluation of the on-chain data that we have, I know we've even seen that there is definitely a pattern where this is this will apply to a lot of accounts that are only doing one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll work.
Yeah, I think so. So, yeah.
Hyperion Frequency thinks it's a priority, and I tend to agree with him. Only after just thinking about like all the different things I want on the leaderboard. But then if we do this and then we build a leaderboard, we can put like top evaluators on the leaderboard.
Yeah.
Because then who your Den top 10 evaluators even are. Yeah. And maybe that's where you get your little badge from.
Yeah, totally.
Shows up in the top 10 leaderboard, you get a leader badge or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, because then I would like to see, top, depending how we rank them, but top evaluator badge, top creator badge. I don't know if there's anything else, but
well, let's see what Den thinks then, because the DENDAO proposal that we were just talking about, that was denied. So we're not going to close the Comunicado Español layer, which means I think that in itself probably brings this as a higher priority too. Because if we're not going to close the layer and we're saying we're basically saying, no, we got to fix this in a different way. So what if we put up a new DENDAO proposal, mention that closing the layer didn't pass muster. Here's the real solution that has to be built. And since this is bogging the communities down, we're proposing to build it now, put the leaderboard on ice for now, build this, deploy it, and then immediately start working on the leaderboard again. Would that be the proposal?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Cool. Hyperion Frequency says also, myself personally, I haven't put up too much content anymore because I know there are more people who are only interested in earning matter instead of the long-term growth of DEN. Yeah. This is probably something we don't have time to talk about right now, but I have some thoughts on that too with regard to like market effects of like, I don't even know how to explain it. Next call. It's off topic, but I'll bring it in next call. A few people that get comment and create posts definitely don't have as much incentive to add towards Den if they feel like they're going to be attacked. Yeah, I agree. Even y'all weird, who's been a holdout and who's just like not been wanting to like, I guess, complain. He finally was like, all right, music layer is kind of dead, right, because of this. So it's making its way across different, and I really think it's people that are finding that they can attack the relative weight of their content, because I think it's kind of a personality type probably, where instead of improving yourself, you'll shit on other people to bring them down so that you get evaluated better, kind of thing. And that might be what's happening.
Oh yeah, it's bad. It's horrible.
Cool. Well, I'm for proposing it and seeing how it rolls.
Awesome.
especially since we're not going to do anything about, since DENDAO is not going to take action on the layer we were discussing. This is probably, that's even more reason to do this now. So let's get a DENDAO let's get not a prioritization vote. What would it be? Just a proposal.
Yeah,
explain it in the description of the proposal. Yep. Yeah. Could even link to this meeting, to this call, actually, in that proposal.
Yeah.
All right. We got to get on at some point very soon. Is there anything that I'm missing? Let's refresh and see if there's any last minute notes here. Is that the agenda? Let's see. We briefly talked about, okay, we did actually pretty well. No, I think we got it. I think we got that there. Nope, you just got my comment saying I'll be there, man. So that would be it. Anything else from either of you that we have to cover today? I think we came out pretty good with the proposal on this one.
Me too.
Cool. All right. Well, that's all we've got today. Just a reminder, we've got other stuff going on Den all throughout the week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is where it's concentrated. Tuesday, we get updates on Dragon Chain, and we get updates on Den.Social from Joe, who is here with us today. And that happens in the Dragon Chain layer on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. And you can go back and watch it if you missed it. But try to catch them live because it's more fun that way. On Wednesday, I do a show that's way too long called Coffee with Den. And we're looking at shortening that a little bit, maybe bringing it up to an hour. Yesterday, we went on for like 2.5 hours. And afterwards, had a little talk about like, we should probably make this concise with segments. So yeah, join in on the evolution of that show on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern. And then Thursdays, we have the back-to-back hits of World Blockchain Roundtable and this governance call. So that's when things happen. Oh, I didn't say the times. World Blockchain's 11 a.m. This call's at 3 p.m. Eastern time, Florida man time. And then that's all I've got. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week. And thank you, Hyperion Frequency, for joining the call.
Thank you.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best.
Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible. But that conclusion is laughable, so with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.